Hey Tim, how are we going? It is Kaz here from the trenches with Kaz on this sad day in Australia, only 40 minutes from Bondi Beach, where yesterday the casualty was innocence, not just a Jewish celebration, not just tourists on one of our most famous iconic beaches that I don't reckon is any better than any other beach. Maybe the Rockpool is better, but yeah, yesterday the devil came to play. And he did. And I believe that he may have changed the innocence or amplified or illuminated the fact that Australians have been turning the cheek for a long, long time. And basically, if there's discrimination in this country, it's against Australians. Tonight, we're going to be discussing some things. I've got a series of Socratic questions to give you, which means I won't give you the answer. I'll give the statement. You decide to yourself what it means to you. And from there, that gives you the scaffolding to have a communication in the office tomorrow, which is not based on just aggression, emotion, anger, sadness for what's happened in Australia. Understand at the moment there's other attacks happening around right now in Amsterdam and other places. God bless them. As we go into our holiest of days, the birth of Jesus Christ, here behind us, thou shalt not kill, he who died for our sins and didn't carry on with all of the traits that Muhammad did. Tonight is not about the religion of peace, so to speak. It's about just trying to make sense of why people under the guise of religion, decide to flip the card table, so to speak. We've got a couple of videos here too. One is the damnation of this act by Arabs from the UAE, and also seeing Karens actually at the vigil at Bondi Beach that couldn't help themselves. I'm not sure if I've just been cut off. Basically, I went outside and had a bit of a walk around tonight. Had a look at the Christmas lights, etc., just to bring down the energy a little bit, bring out the rhetoric, wrote down some questions so that I wouldn't get myself into a position where I came in here with emotion, anger, instant reaction to an reaction, but also give you guys permission to have a conversation rather than just scream at the TV or speak to someone at the pub and maybe get yourself into a bother, or maybe even say things that could get you, judged, so to speak. So let's have a look what you guys got to say before we head into questions and the videos. I hope you like the thumbnail here. In the background, Jesus wearing the crown of thorns for the sacrifice for us, for our sins, with thou shalt not kill, the fifth commandment of the 10 commandments. This is a dedication to Dan. Okay? Dan, you're going to see his hobo. There he is. No, it's Harley, sorry. Where are we? Hey, Kaz, you hear about the 1,000 cases of it's all bullshit. Happy? I don't believe in any of that, mate. And that's not what we hear about tonight, my man. But I don't believe in any of that. Okay, Dale Potter, g'day, buddy. We've got Braden here. Heart goes out to the families. Yeah, man, it's more than 16 families too. It was more than a Jewish festival, because that beach is covered in thousands of people every given day of the week, except winter. Yeah, Sam, it was an awful to see, Kaz. I was near Bondi at the time, and it was some horrible shit, absolutely. A mate of mine was one of the police officers that was shot. Shit. He's now at risk of losing an eye. I'd rather him lose an eye than his life, my man. Yeah, there's no good way to react when you're not there as an organised team of combatants, and that would take us into, is this a military jurisdiction from here on in? Things have changed in Australia, and around the world they are shocked. Not surprised, but shocked. Formula 4, Snobes, best wishes for you, mate. Yeah, can we get some thumbs up there for our boys and gals in blue, even the lasses that were shown hiding behind cars, not using their service weapon, while unarmed people went over and actually took down the bad guy and then took a couple of bullets himself. Hope he pulls through, mate, and makes a full recovery. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm still pissed off with the horrific massacre, as am I there, Vic, as am I. But I had conversations all day so I could bring down that temperature, take the emotion out of it and just speak from perspective, you know, of an Australian citizen, but also a Christian and someone that, is pretty pissed as well, to tell you the truth. And I've got some questions here. I'm going to quickly talk about those now. And what we're going to be doing is the Socratic method here. But before we do, let's do a call out to anyone that may be affected in this, even the innocence of Australia. For those that are overseas that may be watching this now, subscribe to the channel so that you can join us in comments there. You have to be a subscriber to talk. If you do so, you'll see your name pop up there beside Jesus, of all people. And he'll give you his blessing, I'm sure. We've got Dwayne there. Good to see you there, buddy. And the blue hearts go out to the cop, I imagine. I've asked you as well, if you have a look over there in the comments section, do you think it's time for a Traders Act of 2025 for drug dealers, as well as those that deliberately target their own nation with terrorism? You know, because heavy drug dealers poisoning our children, etc., you know, it's not that much different. They may take offence to that for financial gain, you know, but I'm not a fan of a drug dealer either, you know. Not in a land where we get paid to sit home and eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. So what do you reckon about that? Is it for the Traders Act? And what that includes is you're offline, check your connection and try again. Funny how this happens. What do we got? Spectacles of wisdom. Braden says, not something we have seen in Australia for a long time. It is rare. I feel for everyone, we just need to prepare the public servants for the fight a bit more. Not a criticism, but a bit of a shame. The response time was approximately 20 minutes. It's probably going to happen. It's probably going to happen because, again, it is rare in Australia. And for those that are around the world that don't know, there's hardly a street in Australia which is considered dangerous to walk down. By day, by night, it's pretty goddamn safe unless you're messing with the wrong people, you know, and playing games that can get you FAFO. So, yeah, I've got a daughter. I'm affected. That's a good point there, Harley. I've got a daughter too, and it affects me too. One of the things that should affect us is the fact that we're in a nation which under John Howard disarmed us and took our weapons off us, so we weren't legally and still are not under any circumstance allowed to legally defend ourselves with a firearm. So therefore our claws are taken off us. Then we're not allowed to have pepper spray, so we're not allowed to use non-lethal means. And now they also take the microphone off us when we try to talk about it. If you have a completely defanged, declawed nation, don't be surprised when our civilization starts to slide and the wolf that walks amongst us, when unpunished, it may look like the sheepdog from a distance, but when you get up close, doesn't fight by any rules other than those of winning. G'day, Kaz. Hope you're doing well. Vicky from Broken Hill. Our leaders of the country have a lot of explaining to do to Australian civilians, which includes the beautiful Jewish people. I think one of the reasons why I'm holding back a little bit at the moment is I think this is a beautiful time for the Islamic community to step up and show complete condemnation of these events, to show that they stand amongst us during this time of sadness and betrayal of those that live amongst us, that were given migration status or citizen status in this country, beautiful country, and let down by these two traitors. You know, they'll be measured by God, but let's see what our government does. Let's see what our Islamic Community does. I'll give you one tip. You know, we had a guy that I know that is Islamic, and he's now denounced his religion. He said he's been thinking about it for a long time, and yesterday was the catalyst, and he's walked away because of that. He can't follow it anymore. He didn't see the advantages. He was forced into his religion from birth, and now's the time to walk away. Now, for those that don't know, the danger of doing that and becoming an apostate can be very, very dangerous. It's like going for the Rabbitohs, then suddenly saying that you want to go for the Cowboys. You know, be careful what you say. Bondi proves sovereignty isn't broken by violence when government stays measured. G'day, Vince. How you going, mate? Yeah, yep. Harley saw him in Iraq. Yeah, we saw him in Afghanistan. We've seen him across the world. You know, the danger is that the person smiling with you might be the person that takes you out. So be careful to trust. And is there loyalty to the religion or to the nation? And I'd say nearly 100% of the time it's to the religion. So remember that. So here's some Socratic method questions for you to ask yourself, you know, without me actually giving you the answer, righto? So I'm going to ask these. I'm going to try and pitch it in a way there's no bias within it. Right, the first one would be, as a bit of an introduction, if those from the Islamic faith, you know, want to be around an Islamic nation, want to be around everyone that thinks similar to them, harmony, the religion of peace, then why is it they flock to Judeo-Christian nations like Australia, like Britain, like America, etc., like France? Why do they do that? Why do they go to these nations? Right? Is it to conquer? Is it to outbreed? Is it to take over? Is it to recruit? Or are they just trying to get out of their neighbourhood because they know it's safer here? Yeah. That's a question for you. I'll say it again. If Islam is so good, why do they flood to Australia, a Judeo-Christian nation? What is their mission? Okay. Within Islamic Australia, who in the mosques, who has the louder voice? Is it the good or is it the radical? Who do you reckon? Here's another one. What would happen if roles reversed? Two Christians did this on a religious holiday in an Islamic country like Somalia, okay, or Afghanistan. Right. What do you reckon would happen to them? Right. This is a scary one. Grok gave an answer I didn't expect, but if Sharia law is being used under our noses as a parallel legal system within Australia, the only people that could give you the answer to that is, in fact, the Islamic people of Australia. Are they going under their own laws? The Quran apparently says that they have to follow the law of the land that they move to. But there is implicit differences between Sharia law with values that are completely different to Christian values that we would never tolerate. Is it happening under our noses? Does our government know about it? And do they ignore it? The other one. Is it time that the military was brought in for internal operations against those that wish their own flock harm? They're not allowed to do that yet. We've got two elite special forces units that are far above the capabilities of any of the police. The anti-terrorism units within the commandos, 2nd Commando Regiment. The anti-terrorism group in the Special Air Service Regiment in Western Australia. Why have we got them to just use them overseas? Should we be able to use them in Australia? Food for thought. I've already spoken about it. Should we be raising the Trader Act of 2025 based on the Bondi situation, which targets those with everything up to and including the death penalty, and also the mocker of being a traitor to your nation for those that deliberately poison our children, target our children, or use terror or terrorism against their own. Okay, the next one is one of the biggest dangers that we have in Australia, the fact that we not only allow, but we force everyone, regardless of IQ, beliefs, mission, etc., to vote. Should it be more select? Should you have earned your vote? Should it be based on contribution, land ownership, what you've got and what you've created in this lifetime? Understanding that one person who's contributed nothing and never will can also cancel out the vote of someone who is a surgeon, someone who is a 30-year fireman, paramedic, nurse, soldier, cop, farmer. Just questions for yourself, team. Okay, self-protection, as we said, it's illegal to use firearms for self-protection. Why? The military is the only trade where when you make it to master level of qualification and you retire from your trade, your tools get taken off you. Unless you have some sort of, I don't want to give answers. So we're not allowed to have weapons. We're not even allowed to have pepper spray, females, on a train. And the microphone, when you say something about it, can get taken off you too, a knock on your door, so to speak. And we're seeing that in England with some of the people that are weighing in on what's happening in Australia now are getting targeted by their own country. Good to see. Not really. And the other one is, why do you think our government is not admitting that we have a deep Islamic problem culturally within this country? Why aren't they saying it? Why don't they admit it? Are they scared of a Charlie Hebdo situation happening to them? Is that what it is? Is it just fear? Because at the moment, they're spending a fortune today, on Friday, before this all happened, on bollards and cement barriers in places where normal Australian citizens go shopping. Places like CBD Melbourne, they start going up on Friday. God knows how much money they've spent without saying there's a problem. And it's only about one community they're scared of. One. There's only one that does all of the damage. And the other one is Martin Place, where you might have remembered the Lint Cafe. They're all putting the blockades and cement barriers up there to stop ram runs from vehicles being used as weapons there. Is there something that they know? Is it something they expect? Or are they just not talking about the problem that is clear and present in front of us now? Some of the victims of this is also our Islamic brothers that are shaking their head probably right now going, how are we ever going to have peace and an evolution of peace within our communities if we keep being made the bad guy by the deeds of those that are among us? But it's not easy for them to call that out within their mosque either before they could be targeted as well. So there's some questions for your team. Take it back if you want. Maybe agree with all of them, maybe agree with none of them, maybe you have questions you want to throw into yourself. Let us know. Okay, what else have we got? G'day, Carl P. G'day, Kaz and team. Sorry to everyone who went through yesterday's horror. It is, and it's very important that people have a communication with their family members and understand that when you go on the Harbour Bridge and scream those things about the Jewish people from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean, you know the term, that you can never say anything in your life about Nazis ever again because you just said that what they did was right. Okay? There is a cause and effect. There is aggression that has been raised within our country because of these continual protests and people that don't know what they're talking about, inflaming situations I agree, cause and effect. But father and son, incredible. Seems like a difficult choice, beneficial though it takes resources from other sectors. Alan says, just heard the global leader of Imams, who is Australian citizen, condemn what happened. He said the government is weak and needs to be tougher on extremism and anti-Semitism. Interesting. Yep. Interesting. Yeah. And that's good to hear. Because if our Imams and our Islamic communities condemn this, then the healing will happen far faster. What might happen is a conversation happening in the mosques that allows them to bring the energy and the heat down. Yep. Hey, Jenny G, where is she? There she is. G'day, mate. Dwayne says, hope you're well. Harley says, what does condemning acknowledge mean anything? What it shows is at least that they're in front of the problem, you know, and trying to, you know, take a bit of accountability for that problem. The migrants make a good vote. I'm not a big believer in migrants getting a vote, not till it's deserved. Maybe after 10 years or after they can speak English. We're a soft target, absolutely. Diversity bollards. G'day, Kaz. G'day, X-Ray Yankee. How you going, mate? My condolences to everyone involved in the attack. Absolutely. There's more victims than you could possibly poke a stick at. And it's not just Australian. It's not New South Wales. It's not just Jewish. It's not just Christian. You know, it goes around the world. Hey, Kaz, just got back from Christmas platoon, Apostle 73. What do you think about the thou shalt not kill in the background? All right. That's for Harley. G'day, Jester. How much do you think it is, how much worse do you think it has to get for actual change? I mean, look at England and they're still getting worse. This is the fear. This is the fear that there's Hungary that says no immigrants and their crime rate down to almost zero. And then you've got Germany that's falling. We've got UK that is falling. We've got paramilitary groups in Ireland that are saying it's time to stand up. You know, do you want your country to look like a feudal version of what should be quite simply, you know, a for and against column? And if it comes down to, no, this group, these people, that race doesn't fit in, gone. Get rid of them. Just get rid of them. Where to? Okay, if it's not back to, if they're born here, you know, and they want to be a different race, different religion that's not compatible, then they go get sent to the nearest country that is compatible for them. It's not like they can do anything about it. Solidarity is vital, but in putting polarisation through tougher anti-Semitism laws weaken sovereignty. Now they're having a cop-out by going after gun owners. Isn't that a funny one? I would argue, how did they possibly have legal gun ownership for that family when one of them was already on a watch list? How does that happen? I mean, they come here and vote for the leaders allowing them in. This is, I'm quite happy for Islam to live in Australia, but none of them should ever be allowed under any circumstances to ever have any position of, what would you say, of parliament. Yep. Might have plenty of opinions voiced on all this, but that's not to be put in writing on here. Absolutely. Thou shalt not murder. Killing is different. Absolutely. But we've all got the common sense to know the difference. Hey, Vicky, how you going, mate? Sincere condolences to the people who lost loved ones. My parents came from Greece, had jobs, worked hard, and had to be naturalised for 10 years before they accepted to live in Australia permanently. Yeah, absolutely. They had a rough time. And I do love the, one of my favourite foods, what's it called? What am I thinking, Carl? The bread. People are saying the police froze. I call absolute bullshit when the situation was dangerous for anyone. Absolutely. Yeah, but it did show police cowering behind vehicles, doing nothing, while the Good Samaritan went in there enclosed with nothing in his hands and took down the terrorist and then was shot twice himself. Veet, Angkor Elbow doing nothing. He only focused on guns, now saying they're going to tighten on gun laws. We should be actually opening up some gun laws. Fast to call what the real issue is. Yep. We have to start thinking of a nation about what's compatible with us and what the long term of mass migration and multiculturalism experiment. Multiculturalism doesn't work. There's nowhere I believe that it does work. But that doesn't mean that people are bad people. There's just cultures that don't get along. Just like there's families that don't get along, cousins that you never invite over. Down at the most basic levels, there's divorces. So let's not make out like we're surprised. Yeah, they are not targeting gun laws and not the actual problem. Yep. Baklava, dessert. Baklava. I meant, what am I trying to say, team? The bread. We've got the tomato. We've got the red onion. We've got the balsamic vinegar. Maybe the event was created to change the laws, just like Port Arthur. Mate, that's a whole conversation right there, isn't it? Anyway, let's have a look at a video, because I liked this video. I really did. Okay, if you don't need your headphones. Let's have a look at this. This is what I wanted to see.
Of the people who are trying to celebrate Hanukkah, or the people who are just trying to live in peace.
We have here Majed, M-A-J-E-D from X, who is in the UAE in Dubai, I believe, commenting on what happened today in Sydney, Australia, on the first evening of Hanukkah. We've covered this past few videos on my channel. If you have not already, I would go to Google right now and I would type in Bondi Beach and see for yourself. I did a full video earlier today covering this whole thing. This is a really interesting take in hearing from people, the right people here in the Middle East. Let's take a listen.
What happened in Australia should have shattered any remaining illusions. No more. A Jewish community gathering celebrating Hanukkah was attacked. Civilians, families, a religious holiday. And once again...
See, team, this is actually an Arab Islamic man, with no hate in his heart. This is what we need to see to show it is not all, right?
Again, Jewish community were targeted simply for being Jews. This is not a protest. This was not a political expression. It was literally terrorism. The most dangerous lie we keep telling ourselves is that these attacks are isolated or spontaneous, random, disconnected from a wider ideology. They are not. They are part of a global pattern driven by the Muslim Brotherhood-derived extremism, an ideology that survives, spreads, and kills wherever it is excused. Yet some people want to call it the boogeyman. It's something like it doesn't exist, even though it's getting banned in Florida and in Texas. This is the same ideological ecosystem that produced Hamas, the same one that has embedded itself inside the SAF in Sudan, the same network that has been backed, exploited, and weaponized by Iran. And speaking of Sudan, it's no longer just a civil war. It is being shaped into a future terror hub, where what you saw in Australia is just the beginning. This terror hub built on weapons flows, financing routes, ideological infrastructure. We have seen this movie before. We know how it ends. This pattern never changes. First, the ideology is normalized. Then the rhetoric is excused. Then warnings are dismissed as exaggeration. And finally, everyone acts shocked when civilians are murdered and killed in front of their own families. Even in the United States, like I said, this reality is being confronted. Florida and Texas have moved to ban or restrict Muslim Brotherhood linked entities, recognizing what too many governments still refuse to admit. You cannot fight terrorism while protecting the ideology that produces it. Violence against civilians has no justification. Not in Australia, not in US, not in Sudan, not anywhere. Terrorism thrives on silence. It feeds on moral inconsistency. And it grows when people are too afraid to name the problem clearly. Jews are always targeted first, but never last. History proves this again and again. So this is the moment for clarity. The Muslim Brotherhood must be condemned. Its networks must be dismantled, and its ideology must be banned, not rebranded, not excused, not even tolerated. Calling terrorism by its name is not extremism. It is responsibility, because Muslim Brotherhood ideology is everyone's problem. And pretending otherwise is how we guarantee the next attack.
Good on you, legend. Good on you. I'd have him as a neighbour like that. Thank you, mate. Okay, that's one. There's another couple of videos. What I would say is, and what we need to remember, is that if you're wondering where this is coming from, just remember that Islam is the cruelest to its own people. Islam to Islam. But the way they deal with it, they absolutely rip it out at the roots when it happens within their own countries. It is brutal. The other thing is to remember that this is not a religion to a lot of them. It's a business. If you've got your father's looks, righto, and this gives you the opportunity through being a junior warlord to be able to have as many women as you want, to be surrounded by riches and everything that is against what the Quran wants from you and prohibited substances, then they can break all those rules. Money, fun, not working, having the girls, all of that life would be gone, that sense of status, if they were just strict Muslim. It's a business to many of them, all right? Islamic people I worked with in the military, as soon as no one's watching, pork, alcohol, women, debauchery, coiled spring, out of control. Literally just watch this. It's very true. It's Bruschetta, MMA. Well done. Thank you. Ty Smith, thank you for just joining us in the Patreon as well. I've sent you a message with my phone number. Join in, team. Jump on the Patreon if you want to have a conversation as we lead into 2026. Be a pleasure to have you. Carl, the government just needs to wake up and smell the cheese. It does, because we need to remember another thing, that if you pretend to be an ally of the vampire, you just get eaten last. You don't get out of it scot-free. You'll still get taken down. Netanyahu dressed down Albanese saying they already have given Australia intelligence about these guys. Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. We're watching what is happening with the Pakistanis, what they're doing, and the blind eye was going to them in the UK. Disgusting. Yeah, so that came from an Arab's mouth himself. Noah, the best decision I made to join the Patreon. That's a nice thing to say, mate. Thank you very much for your untanned hand. Harley says, yeah, but all the people who throw the stones are sinners as well. It is true. I'm not without sin either. I am not without sin. But that's what we're having this conversation tonight. Notice the anger's not there. The emotion is not there. We're dealing with this while also giving a respectful approach to the conversation, while we also don't go crazy and foaming at the mouth. Right? I'd sign up tomorrow. I would, to protect Australians. But we need to make sure that those that we're protecting are on our side as well. Carl, they gave him $27 million. We've really got to stop handing money overseas. We do, because we've got enough people in Australia that need some cash, whether it be farmers, okay, whether it be those doing it tough. Military, that's going to need some money. It is, and it needs to be doubled. Probably the infantry regiment to a second one, because I believe the future is going to be a lot about a paramilitary police force in Australia. Right. Let's get to the next video. So you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. Less than 24 hours later, a Karen was found, at the actual vigil at Bondi. Here we go. What should happen to her?
Because this community has politicised this tragedy.
Take a step back now.
We are standing
Step back,
here
please.
because
We've
the
asked you.
flag
Ma'am, I don't want to push you over.
represents
That's the next step.
genocide.
Move.
And we are here to say all Jews are entitled to
Step
mourn.
back, please. We've
All
asked you
Jews are entitled to mourn.
Step back.
Even
That's the most important. She's been
Jews are
removed.
entitled to mourn. Let go.
Get back, go, keep going.
Was that my van just going past? Look, this is a police stunt. This is ridiculous. Look at this. You may not have noticed, there is not a single person near her, not a single person, just police, about 20 of them, and media. It takes one person to arrest her. One. She's about as strong as the resistance of a wet bus ticket. And we've got a whole bunch of police that look like Gestapo around her. All it takes is one to escort to her car, bring a car to her. This is a media moment. Let's have a look at that again.
Ma'am, I don't want to push you over.
There's no threat. There's no one coming over.
Step
And
back.
we are here to say all Jews are entitled
It's the media they're saying step back to. What are you talking about?
entitled to mourn.
Step back.
Even anti-Zionist Jews are
Move.
entitled to mourn.
Keep
Let go.
Get back, go, keep going.
I didn't notice that. That's just a stunt. That's just a stunt. What the hell was that about? That's like when they get the camera and drunk. Sorry, who did they give it to? Our tax money. Go up, just lady, read the room. Absolutely. Yeah. I would say at the moment, someone that needs to be very, very careful is, what's his name? The Jewish gentleman in Australia, the protagonist, Avi Yemeni. If I was him, I'd be probably a little bit careful for a little while, because he may end up getting targeted, by those that agree with this sort of stuff. I don't wish him harm, but you do have to be very careful, team. I just hope the country can come together with a level head, tackle this correctly, and not let it fuel absolute political division. That's what I reckon too, Staney. And this is why it's so important that Islamic brothers that call us brother stand up and condemn this with a loud voice, so that anyone that is a young brave within their crowd that might feel alienated or even sexual tension because they're limited chance to get the 72, comments been deleted out of the chat. What comments? I haven't deleted anything. My hands are off the steering wheel. How you going, Brady? I hope everyone is happy. Coming up to Christmas, this is about time, other than the events, naturally, of course, because it is important for us to also not to submit, to fear. Sorry, they give it to, a little bit crazy. I'm not going to look at anything on X because it doesn't really quarantine at all, and I don't want to see anything that could upset people. There's a whole bunch of people. I thought last night when I was watching the breakdown of what was happening while my mate was here, all I could think of is what is going to happen and how sad will it be at the crime scene when the people are allowed to come back in and get their cars and drive off, and then you see the cars all parked of the actual victims that are left behind. It's going to be like a silent, sad, tragic moment. This will affect Australia, and it will definitely affect Bondi for a long, long time. This has changed Bondi as the franchise. I'm sure there'll be dedications by the surfers, by people, by vigils, etc., for those that fell. But, yeah. Lighty says, I heard an interesting question. What happens to the women after they die? Contrast that with what happens to men. I don't know. I actually don't know. Yeah, does anyone know? Interesting. What's the universal outrage? Let's type in and see what happens there. There were some beautiful messages that were passed out. Global reaction to Bondi. And we've got to remember, this is very rare in Australia, team. Very rare. So think, how do you react when it happens overseas? You know, it's not a surprise to them when they see it. It'd be a good time to reach out and talk to, if you've got an Islamic friend, to talk to them and just try to get some answers. Try to see what they think. Yeah. You might find that they absolutely share in your disgust of what's happening when people consider themselves militants and go after non-combatants. That's never okay.
Welcome back to Bondi Beach, where, of course, less than 12 hours ago, this beautiful beach that Australia knows as probably the most famous beach in this country was the scene of one of this country's worst massacres. The streets are still blocked off. They are empty. A few streets back from the beach are blocked. This is the bridge that we've all seen on our screens for the last 12 hours, where those horrific scenes unfolded. Gunmen with semi-automatic rifles unloaded on innocent families enjoying.
I didn't see any semi-automatic weapons getting used. I saw shotguns. I can't actually see what he's got, other than the trepidation and fear that he's about to get axed.
Enjoying the first night of Hanukkah, the Jewish festival where they light candles and celebrate. It was horrific and it was awful, and it was the likes of scenes we haven't seen in this country before. Back to you.
Yeah, no, that's right. We can all place ourselves there. It was a warm Sydney night. We've all been there at a beach. And then this happens. It was something that no one was expecting. And Israel has led the wave of condemnation, which has come from right around the world, outrage and sympathy being sent in equal measure.
Yeah, let's now go to our reporters in Europe and the US as well. First to Jacqueline Robson outside Australia House in London. Jackie, a vigil has been held there for the victims.
Yes, dozens of people turned up for what was a very last-minute vigil here at Australia House. People are filtering away now, but earlier there was a very moving scene. People turning up with candles, singing, showing solidarity with the victims of this terror attack on the other side of the world. People who turned up here say they just felt compelled to show solidarity with the Jewish community. There are Hanukkah events happening right across London tonight, and and also during the week, the King Charles, he's released a statement saying he and Camilla are feeling very saddened about what's happened, but there's been sharp criticism too. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has accused Australian government rather of fueling this anti-Semitism, pointing the finger at the Palestinian statehood recognition. Australia, one of a number of countries to do so. Netanyahu saying that it was the Australian government who hasn't poured enough, hasn't doused the anti-Semitism in the country. Take a listen.
It pours fuel on the anti-Semitic fire. It encourages the Jew hatred now stalking your streets. Anti-Semitism is a cancer. It spreads when leaders stay silent and you must replace weakness with action.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
And this is what I'm talking about, team, is we have to see a reaction and not just punish Australians. They need to be given a way to be able to fight back. At a minimum, you should be able to have a 37-litre bottle of bear spray when you get on a train so that any dickhead, whether it's mental health or whether it's deliberate belligerent, knows that if he makes a stuff up, then he's going to look like a tandoori kebab, by everyone on the train. You should never have to pit your hands against a dickhead in your own house, in a train or in public. It should be a communal dousing of chili, and it would make the best YouTube videos ever. Act Daddy says, a great mind of mine is a Muslim. His parents are Syrian. They're doing it hard. He was born here, proud Aussie. He is devastated. I met him on Anzac Day about 7 years ago. He bought me a beer because I was wearing my medals. That's nice. Yep. And Noah said he read earlier, very briefly on my lunch break, that apparently a former British soldier reckons they aren't military trained. Well, I doubt they are military trained. It's not very hard, it's not very hard, team, with a high caliber weapon system to be pretty accurate, even in the worst hands. That's why infantry are meant to try and engage you from further ranges so that you don't have a puncher's chance of success, so that we can use our four marksmanship principles to be able to mathematically have a greater chance of taking you down. It is the reason why the coward's weapon was considered the crossbow, because it was able to negate, the 10 years of training of a knight, who had almost no chance of being beaten at skill at arms on a battlefield by someone that could just hold up, pull the trigger, send a bolt actually through the armour. These weapon systems, the difference between a good shot and a bad shot might only be 6 inches. And if you're aiming at the centre of the scene mass, you ain't going to miss. He owns 6 firearms. Why was he allowed to have so many? I don't think there's a limit to how many you can have, as long as they're within the caliber specifications, what you're allowed to have, and also that they are housed in a safe, separate from the ammunition, etc. The only reason I don't have a bunch of weapon systems is because I just can't be stuffed having people come and inspect my rental as well as police coming and inspecting my safe. And I'd have it on my bed. I can't be trusted. I'd sleep with it. I guess they live together and get one each. So. But if one was on the list, no one in the family should be allowed to have them, especially if they're the same house. What else are we saying? It's not a gun you can have. It's not a gun you can have with a license. I'm not sure. I didn't actually see the breakdown of what the weapons were, but there was a lot more than 2. They had a bunch of weapons, because when that guy got disarmed, by the hero, I believe he was going to shoot the guy but didn't know how to use the weapon system, maybe the safety catch. He actually got shot twice by the son of the father, and then given another weapon again. What's this going to mean for Australia? I think some are going to go a little bit too crazy in a direction that is not needed. And there's going to be those that side with them and create further anger within Australian society. For example, what was happening with the protesters on the Sydney Harbour Bridge, that was a goddamn disgrace. Seeing people actually yelling out the slogans from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean was disgusting, while having children there as well, preaching hate while saying, let's be tolerant and not hateful. Makes no sense. Kaz, I only have one question. In your professional opinion, do you think he looked like a professional at using firearms? No. Because from someone who has never shot one, the way he was shooting and reloads, it's pretty easy, man. It really is. Yeah, it is pretty easy. You know, I could teach you how to use a weapon in an hour, mate. All 6 weapon systems owned by the dead gunman were recovered by police. There you go. I didn't know that. They're definitely going to make it harder to get the licence. They shouldn't make it harder. Same as after what happened in Port Arthur. Shouldn't have got weapons banned. You know, that was the first real weapon incident that had happened that I remember in my lifetime. And remember this. Oops. Guns were everywhere in the early 90s. Absolutely everywhere. Yeah. You could ride a motorbike with your rifle, you know, like in a sheath, while you ride your Harley down the street. No problem. That's what happened at the Milpera bikie massacre. They rode in there with their weapons legally, carried on their weapons on their motorbikes. Yep. Shooting weapons were considered a tool. Boys were brought up with fathers to use a weapon and had their actual weapons taken off them, sometimes smashed around a tree for being a dickhead with it. Having said that, my uncle, Stuart, he was killed by his own friend with the 303. Didn't realise there was one up the spout. Yeah. Wasn't he in IDF? Don't know, mate. You don't ban all knives to the public after stabbings. I reckon wives do more damage to the soul. Port Arthur files have been bloke for 50 years. Why? Have been bloke? I don't know what that means, Harley. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I had an SKS, right? Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore. People brought up by their dads. You know, mate, remember a lot of our teachers, principals, etc., were actually veterans from World War II. You know, World War I veterans everywhere during Anzac Days and Remembrance Days. You know, school principals, cops, veterans. You got taught with respect around weapon systems. Are they going to take our cars away because you can drive through crowds of people? Good point. They'll give us electric cars and then they'll up the taxes. Blocked. I used to ride a push bike across town when I was a kid. Yeah. Yep. You can't defend your nation unless you've got the ability to do it. You don't need a big army when everyone's got weapons, knowledge, you know, and responsibility that goes with it. When you've got a nation that owns weapon systems, people rarely break in as well. Just like people always go to the next yard if they see you've got a German Shepherd. Act Daddy says, I grew up on a farm and got a 22 for my 7th birthday. In 1991, my old man taught me to shoot on an SKS. I used to have one. Yeah, the SKS. 7.62. Short. Because they want to hide the truth. Yeah. Well, you've got to ask, why aren't we even allowed to have a pepper spray? What's the go with that? Yeah? All we want to do is have a peaceful love in Australia, and I believe that we have got that, except for the fact that everyone's allowed to vote and not everyone should be allowed to vote. In some way, you should have to deserve and earn your right to vote, just like politicians should have to earn their right to lead. Every year, our country should be incrementally better every single year, right? Like the S&P 500, just slowly climbing up. Sometimes down years because of acts of God, because of situations that occur, but overall, there is a legacy that you did a good job. If you fail in your 4 years, you shouldn't be getting a pension for the rest of your life. You shouldn't be. You just made Australia worse and you're going to get rewarded? That doesn't make sense. We might call it a wrap here, team. I don't want to talk just for the sake of talking, but we'll just cover those questions quickly again before we go. We'll take that one down. Thank you to the world that watched, listened, and cried with Australians. That's exactly what I think, Kaz. Voting needs to be earned by showing some kind of service to the country. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can buy a Temu slingshot on YouTube. There you go. I didn't know that. So the questions, okay, for you to ask yourself, okay, if Islam is so good and it is a religion that is above all others, then why do they flood to Australia and other Western nations, Christian-valued nations? Is it to recruit? Is it to outbreed? Okay. Ask yourself, who has allowed a voice in the mosque near you? Is it the good or is it the radical? That's important. Maybe every Islamic person needs to be registered to a mosque. So when something happens, it goes straight back to where is their registered mosque. Hold them all responsible. What would happen if a Christian did this in an Islamic country? Do you reckon they'd even still be breathing? Is Sharia law being used as a parallel legal system beneath our noses, and not reported to anyone that is of Australian citizenship that doesn't share their religion? Should this move into a military operation with intelligence communities so that we go on the front foot and weed this out from the roots? Should there be a Trader Act of 2025 for all of those that pollute, poison and target their own people? Should anyone and everyone be allowed to vote in Australia? We're seeing a culture that is using different Trojan horse principles of the left, and all of these people are being used as vampire familiars to open the gates of our own village and then pull this noxious Trojan horse into our own village and then assisting them to implement the very thing that is against our population and then call it just a different opinion. Wrong. A lot of it's coming through our schooling system and academia. Self-protection landscape changed. We need to relax gun laws, but it needs to be earned and they need to be trained. What about pepper spray? What about a non-lethal means that we can make a dickhead's day bad? Yep, that'd be good. And why doesn't the government admit that we have an Islamic problem while they're spending untold amounts of taxpayers' dollars on cement bollards and barricades and communal centres as we get ready for our most religious days, the birth of Christ, Christmas? But there's nothing to see here. And then when there is something to see here, I will give the most aggressive condemnation of this. A strongly worded email to who? To who? Who knows? Yeah, true. G'day. G'day, Sasha. How you going, mate? Lydor says, I thought he held back because the guy's threat level had dropped from lethal to non-lethal. Also, no, that guy should have killed that terrorist. Also, he would need to justify using it legally. If the guy got up and run, you could argue, no, you could have killed him. His intent was not to give up. His intent was to go back and reload, which means you can legally shoot him. Yep. I am a rules of engagement expert, in case you didn't know, as well as a weapons expert in pistol, assault weapon system and machine guns, and also anti-tank weapon systems. There you go. An anti-tank weapon system, a javelin, top attack on that guy, might be a little bit overboard. Oh, yeah, so I heard that someone of the Kicked one in the gum in the head. Yes, that happened. After he was restrained and then arrested. Yeah, but I don't care. Yeah, the offender was pissed off, but the threat was down, so he brought the law. Whatever happens to him, I don't care. In that moment, mob justice, sometimes it's required. Broke the law, not broke the law. Don't care. Don't care. Anyway, guys, we love our country. We love everyone who loves our country, everyone that's willing to defend our country, and everyone that loves their children more than what their radicalisation. Is Saska okay? I'm great, but my brother was down in Bondi when it happened. You got a video of a baller bashing the shooter. Yeah. Yep. I got the video. He got bashed. Thanks, Stoney. Mate, I hope your brother's all right, mate. Sometimes we can't get rid of what we see, and I live that. Hey, can anyone see my comments? Dr. Groove, no. I see yours now. Dr. Groove, wait a sec, mate. Is there any more of you up here? Liam, g'day, mate. Wait. Kafong, that's exactly what I think. Kaz, voting needs to be earned by showing some kind of service to the country. I agree, mate. Where is it? Because I have one question. In your professional opinion, do you think he looked like a professional at using firearms? No. My main account is blocked. Hope everyone is well. Dr. Groove, there you go. My main account is blocked. Oh, how do you do that? G'day, Fresh Prince. How you going, mate? Guys, I hope you guys and all of those that are condemning this, regardless of any religion, I appreciate this. I really do. And it's a sad time, but it's not in isolation. Just remember, we're sad for Australia, but this is happening everywhere. It's happening from Islam on Islam as well. It's Sam Razor. Kaz, hope you're well. Mate, we haven't spoken for ages, Dr. Groove, the Razor. Mate, looking forward to a text from you so we can have a conversation and see what's happening to you, my brother. And how are you going with your new marriage? Yeah. I don't think we've got too much more to talk about, team. It's 9 o'clock. My buddy's gone back. He's getting ready to go to Greece to live the rest of his life. And, don't let this stuff win. That's what I'd say. Don't let it win. Yeah, and you do need to shelter the kids from it. You do. Yeah, so do I, Brady. And two things can definitely be right, can't it? We can absolutely dislike our lack of leadership, but at the same time love our country. And that's where I hear the frustration with Australians, where quite often it's easy to condemn Australia verbally, but then realise you don't mean Australia, you mean our leadership. Yeah, and I get caught doing that too. So tonight I'll be saying another prayer for all of those that are in harm's way across the world now and for tomorrow, while we also get ready to take this time and prepare for the holidays, for you that don't get enough holidays because you didn't join the military, all right? You guys are all special, right, to someone. Sounds good, Kaz. No marriage here, mate, yet, but new job is good. Thanks for another top stream. Appreciate you, Dr. Groove. I had to come on here, Razor, and show that we're not going crazy at the bit, right? Because that would also be ramping up anger and potentially getting other people in a position where they face the world tomorrow and put himself in harm's way, whether it be at their career or with the voices. When I went over to get a coffee this morning, I just thought to myself, please, let's not have Islamic people trying to recruit again at the train station on a day like today. But lucky we went over there, they weren't there. You've got to be able to read the room. Yeah, no need to polarise. Exactly. Yep. there'd be people at the moment, they're in a horrible situation. They're also Islamic. That are going, dude, how am I supposed to go out tomorrow, and not face getting, verbally or physically, approached by people that have just had enough. And I get where they're coming from. Thanks for everyone giving up your Monday night. Absolutely, Carl. Absolutely. And I hope tonight that we've taken some questions away, we've taken some conversation away, and it's allowed us to communicate in a way that, it's just brought the temperature down a little bit, but not the grieving. The grieving is there. All right. God bless you. God bless Australia. And, very sad to see that there's some people that no words can bring their loved ones back or their innocence. Please, Albo, treat this seriously. Be a man. Address the problem. Make changes, but not to gun laws, and have some moral courage. Risk offending others to implement something that protects others. God bless Australia. That's right. Form, not force. There we are. Don't forget to like the video, gentlemen, says Stoney. And Jenny, she's probably going to stay indoors because I'm sure up at Mackay, walking outside now would get you almost abducted by the mosquitoes. Razor says, have a nice evening all. Chat soon, Kaz. Absolutely, that will be my pleasure. And to Ty, I look forward to seeing your availability for a chat. Righto? Jump on a Patreon team. Here to help you. That's all I can do. I can't drag you to water and force you to drink. Thanks for your thoughts, Kaz. Thank you there, Choc Ding Dong. Good name. Here's no man. I agree, Brady. He doesn't drink at pubs. Who's your favourite politician? Mine is Tony Abbott. Yep, for his time in the SES, for what he does, and the fact that he was at least honest. All right, guys. See you later. And to those that are in purgatory right now, with God standing over them, weighing them for their actions, I dare say it's not going to be pretty. Have a good night, Kaz, and a good Christmas and New Year. If I don't get a chance to chat before then, Noah, absolute pleasure. Feel free, when you're hungover, when you're not, when you're considering asleep, give me a call. Let's get it done. See you later, lads and ladies. Bye.